apparently teachers are now going to be teaching children how to spot extremist content and fake news online. That's quite a big challenge, isn't it? That's quite a large area to kind of put your toe in the water of.
It is. I mean, I think that a lot of subjects in school already look at how to understand information. I'm a history teacher, so one of the things we do is source analysis, obviously, and that's a thing that we do a hell of a lot of. And that in itself is looking at a source of information, considering its accuracy, its reliability, how to interrogate that information. So I think and that's just one example from history. If you look at like science, I mean, the whole basis of science is testing information's validity. So I think a heck of a lot of this already happens within the curriculum. Like it already happens. It's already there. I think obviously this is a reaction to a lot of the things that have been happening. And there's, I guess it's sort of panic stations a little bit. Well,
it seems to me, I mean, one of the difficulties with social media particularly, and with the internet in particular, is that it's so much more immediate. You know, you can talk about history, you can look at various, people that have written through the years, and you've got things that you can interrogate, as you say, in a pretty easy way. However, there's a lot of the stuff that's out there immediately when an event happens, it's almost impossible for people who are not particularly qualified to do so to check anything.
Well, I think one of the things that is people have to be really careful of is obviously when it comes to sort of the phrases like hate speech, fake news, and so on, is this is my personal view, by the way. It's like, for me, we want sort of freedom of speech as much as possible. That's like, you want to push freedom of speech to as far as it can possibly go, but you have to have some limitations to it. So it's like, with hate speech and fake news, it's the perception of it, that it's who decides what those things are, and how are we going to do that? And if as adults we find that difficult, children are going to find it doubly difficult to do. And especially now when they're consuming so much information through social media. One of the things, of course, they could focus on is how children access social media.
Right.
And how easily they access it and where they access it, and can they access it in schools, all the rest of it.
Well, I mean, this is all coming from Bridget Phillipson, the Education Minister, Secretary of State, I should say, who says that, pupils as young as 5 will be given this kind of critical thinking skill, if that's at all possible. But a lot of it has been kind of spurred on by some of the youngsters involved in the rioting. I mean, I saw some footage just yesterday of a load of young kids over in Northern Ireland throwing petrol bombs at police cars. And you think, it's not really social media that's to blame for that. There's a lot more going on. Similarly, there's a 13-year-old boy charged on Saturday with violent disorder in Manchester following a bit of a riot up there. And you'd have to say, social media may have played a role, but there's a lot, again, more to kind of unpack there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, social media is a catalyst for a lot of things that happen. It allows people to network with each other, to meet up, it allows echo chambers to develop where young people can share views and then have those views sort of qualified and supported by other young people, and then it can very quickly create that, I guess, what one might term radicalization to one point or another. So I think it can be a driver and a catalyst. I don't necessarily think social media is the cause, because essentially it is just information flow and sharing, but it's how that is being consumed.
Yes. I mean, you'll know probably better than me as a teacher that teenagers in particular, they're not watching the news, they're not watching the BBC, they're not watching Sky necessarily, they're looking at TikTok, they're looking at, Twitter perhaps, maybe in smaller numbers, they're looking at Facebook, they're looking at what you might call DIY media out there, because that is now a thing. The old-fashioned so-called trusted places for information are no longer trusted in the same way the police are.
I think that's a problem, Mike, in the sense that, I know there's this big sort of backlash against mainstream media. I get it. You hear a heck of a lot of it. And, this whole thing of citizen journalism. But, you also have to look at a lot of these sort of media organizations at least have some editorial standards. They at least have to go through some sort of process of
for sure.
checking.
Yeah, listen, you won't get that argument from me because I've been in, you know, what you might call mainstream media pretty much all my life, you know, and so I'm not one of those that castigates it. But I think the media in some respects has been, shall we say, reluctant to tell every single truth there is.
I mean, that's an argument many will make. That's an argument you can see online. You only have to turn on any social media site and you'll see that argument being made. Yeah, I mean, coming back to your point, Facebook, Twitter, you know, whatever the site is, you know, if young people access it, they're going to be confronted with information. I don't know if you can teach critical thinking. I think critical thinking develops through knowledge, understanding, and through actual development of the young person and child. I'm not sure you can teach. I think you can say this is what it looks like, but that's different to I'm going to teach you to do it.
Yes. No, I totally agree. Listen, Tom, we should talk again. Thank you very much indeed.